the Libri Labra book club. So this has been a busy time, and I don't know why I forget that like this time is a busy time for me every year. August, September, October tend to be high enrollment months, and it just gets a little crazy. So because of that, we kind of swap things around a little bit. We were supposed to have read Beloved. I was the only one that didn't get a chance to finish it, but we are going to be talking about that next month or next time we get together, hopefully by the end of this month. So we did end up reading Angels and Demons by Dan Brown, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. Also, I'm just going to throw this in the beginning, but we are joined by Tom Brennan, who is a book club VIP member, and my husband, John, BookTube hubby. And if you want to join us on screen, on camera, that is a perk that is part of my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Libri Labra. So you get a custom bookmark, you get to nominate books for us to vote on. You get to be part of our exclusive Facebook book club chat and a few other things. So if you guys want to check that out, that is patreon.com/Libri Labra. So we can kind of jump into initial thoughts, I guess.
I know who you're asking, so.
I would have to, I don't know. I have a hard time differentiating between Angels and Demons and what's the other one?
Da Vinci Code.
That's it. Yes.
But did you read the Da Vinci Code?
Uh-huh.
Long time ago. So long ago.
Long time ago. But it's just that the beginning, the way things play out, it all seems very like it's the same outline. Like same stuff happens. Same, yeah. It's.
I mean, I think Dan Brown is kind of formulaic. I haven't read all of his books, but
and especially putting like when you watch the movies, putting the same guy as lead characters. I mean, he's Robert Langdon, right, in both books, right? Yeah. So I get it, but it's just because you even brought up the flagellation, and I'm like, that's not in this one.
Yeah, but I had to watch the whole movie before I realized that.
But we're not here to talk about the movie. We're here to talk about the book. The movie is very different.
Yes. Oh, we did do that. We decided since the movie was available, we might as well watch the movie too.
Yeah, we did that. But I kind of liked it. I do enjoy the puzzle aspect of things. It seems like, why would you do that to me?
Sorry, you enjoy the puzzle aspect of things.
I'm gonna wait till you finish what you're doing.
I'm finished.
Okay. And I also like the science versus religion thought piece, I guess. It's he wrapped up the two in a way that I can actually see why the church was quite upset about it. But I enjoyed it. I really liked them. I do like those kinds of stories. It was just hard for me to differentiate stories.
Okay. Tom, initial thoughts?
Do we do the spoiler disclaimer yet?
Oh, no, we haven't. I figured just initial thoughts and then we'll jump into spoilers.
Okay. It had enough history for me to keep me entertained, but there were some things, as I mentioned to you before when we chatted about this briefly on Facebook, about some of the stuff that happens. It's like, oh, come on, really?
I get that too.
Yeah. So.
It's
I mean, for what it was, I liked it for what it was, but would I rush to read another of his books? Probably not.
So I read this a long time ago. Like I want to say, like probably when it had just come out. It was like when the hype of the Da Vinci Code was happening. I was like, oh, he wrote another book. And I decided to start with the first one, which was Angels and Demons. And it was also during a time where I was like exploring religion and the idea of religion and how religion fit into my life. And So I felt like just the idea, kind of that, religion and science were two sides of the same coin, I thought was just like really awesome. And at the time it was very mind blowing to me. And so that just stuck with me, and I always carried that with me. So that book just has always been meaningful to me. I did read the Da Vinci Code, but I didn't feel quite as attached to it. It felt almost like the same thing, but not as good to me. I guess I just didn't like the storyline of that one. But rereading it was an interesting experience because there were things that happened in it that I didn't remember. And I don't know what my reaction was the first time, but I know this time around there were some times where I was like, really? So there were just some things that were really hard to believe, and it wasn't even within the conspiracy or anything like that. It was just like other silly things. But I still really enjoyed it. Like that wasn't enough for me to take stars off. Like it was still a 5-star to me because I was engaged the whole time. I loved being able to see the art. I loved the history in it. So all of that I thought was really cool.
I missed all that with the audiobook.
I tried to show
But she did show me a little bit.
I tried to show you some pictures.
You can Google them, you know that, right?
Or I could just go through the book and, okay, that happened there. Yeah. Oh, that's a cool reference. Nah.
Like I showed him the demon hole, and probably the other one that you should look at is the something of Saint Teresa. Was it Saint Teresa?
Yes. I think
the ecstasy?
The ecstasy. Yeah, that. Like if you've never seen that, you should see that.
Oh, to see the actual art.
The art.
Yeah. I mean, the movie did a good job of showing some of those pieces.
Oh, that's right.
So. But I agree with Tom with just the specific things used as plot devices, and of course the idea that.
Are you jumping into spoilers? Because I was just about to make the spoiler.
Okay.
So those were our initial thoughts, and now we will jump into spoiler territory. So if you haven't read it and you don't want to be spoiled, then go away and come back later. All right.
But do come back later.
Yes, after you've read the book. But go ahead.
I don't know if the movie actually did a decent job of avoiding this, but the fact that this assassin is amazing at all the things, doing everything. He got into a super secret lab and in and out without nobody noticing, and then Mrs. Langdon in like 4 different instances, and as he turned into a stormtrooper.
Oh wait, did Tom freeze out?
No, I'm here.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah, I mentioned that on our Facebook chat.
Yeah, I read
talk
it.
about plot immunity. It's like Jesus Christ.
But I want to know how accurate some of the placement of certain churches and pieces are, because that would be the only thing that would be interesting to me outside of the book, is that all of the research he did to go into it, to be able to outline what was where and when, and whether or not the Illuminati is pissed off that he gave away their their secret entrance. Yeah.
I think like we watched it kind of interesting because we wanted to watch it with the 2 other people in our house, with Jeff and AJ. And so we were probably like a half an hour, maybe 2 hours away from finishing the book before we decided to watch the movie. Mm-hmm. And so when I was watching, I was like, wait, does this happen? And I just couldn't remember if it happened in the book. And so that part for me that was like really unbelievable was in the book, where he ends up getting into the helicopter with the Camerlengo.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't remember any of that at all. And the fact that like he had no parachute, he had nothing, but he jumped out of the helicopter with like something that he used as like a makeshift like
they
parachute.
Brought that up at the beginning. Like what was the director of CERN?
Kohler?
Yeah, Kohler mentioned that, this much fabric will reduce your drag by this percentage, blah, 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 blah. And little does Langdon know he'll use that information later on in this story, which I was like, why would you say that? But
the fact that he landed in the river or whatever and survived and then was taken to the hospital and then was arguing with people about having his clothes because he needed to get away. Like, I don't know. That whole piece was just like, really? Like, I didn't even remember that being in there.
I mean, in order for him to make it.
Is Puppy being obnoxious?
I think she is. Unless she laid against the door. Nope. That sounded like she headbutted the door. Hang on. I'll leave you guys to talk about this for a few minutes. I will take care of the puppies.
Well, I'm holding a chair.
I have to get out. What's your problem? What's your problem?
So there was I pulled up a bunch of questions which I thought was interesting. Okay. So one of them was, were you aware of the existence of CERN prior to reading the book? And what was your opinion of the work they conduct, particularly in regards to antimatter?
Well, as it's portrayed in the book, I don't know anything about particle physics or anything like that, but that would strike me as the kind of work, like the cutting edge research that they would be doing. Because I remember when they built the Super Hadron Collider that people were saying, "Oh, you're going to destroy the world and create a black hole and whatnot."
Right.
So, which science sometimes does go wrong, but by the same token, the march of progress needs to move forward. So.
Right. I know that when I had originally read it, in 2001 or whatever, I had not heard of CERN. So as I was reading it, just the amount of detail that was in it was like, wait a minute, is this real?
Yes, it's a real thing.
Yeah. So I was I think that was part of the reason why I was in such awe, just realizing how much the parts of the story were kind of based in
reality. Yeah.
Reality. Then there was the majority of the story is kind of about science and religion.
Yes.
What was that question? So this has been a debate that has been going on for centuries. Is there room in the world for both science and religion? Is one likely to render the other obsolete? And would you rather live in a world without science or without religion?
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah. So, but to start, I think there is room in the world for both science and religion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if if one is likely to render the other obsolete. I think. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I recall. Have you ever seen the movie Creator?
No.
It's Peter O'Toole and Mariel Hemingway. Older film, but really, really good. One of the quotes from it that I recall, and I'll paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact quote, is that when science finally climbs the mountain, they'll find religion's been sitting there all along.
Right.
So.
I think they both serve a purpose. But as far as what would I rather live in a world without science or without religion?
If it wasn't either or, I would choose to pick science to keep.
Right. I think I would also as well if it was an either or. I'm not a very religious person anyway. It's not that I don't I believe in something. I just don't know what that something is. I don't think any one religion has all the answers. So, John.
What?
Is there room in the world for both science and religion? Put on your headset.
I don't know if I want to answer that question. Yes. I mean, there has been for centuries, so why not?
Is one likely to render the other obsolete?
Negative.
And
no, nope.
Would you rather live in a world without science or a world without religion? Really?
Why am I answering this question?
Because we just answered it.
I didn't hear either of your answers. No,
you can't
I believe that humanity needs something to look. If they can't look into themselves, they need something else to look into. If they need to have that hope, that faith, I believe that's kind of. It just needs to be a little less.
I don't feel like you're answering the question.
What? Whether or not I could do without one or the other?
Yeah, you
I can do. I mean,
this is you. We're talking about you. Pick one.
I would pick science.
Okay.
Because I like the idea of looking into and figuring out what is and what isn't. But I understand that people have a problem with the fact that we had to come from somewhere. That we can't just be some like one in 300 billions freaking anomaly that we just exists for no reason. I get that. That's the reason why we have that question: why and who and what, where do we come from and why are we here?
I don't have the quote, and what I think is interesting is that at some point the Camerlengo kind of goes into this whole speech about why religion is needed and
I really like his speech
and the cons of science and how it's brought uncertainty and more questions and put us in this state of anxiety and all these things. And while I would still choose science over religion, I still really liked that quote and what he was saying in it and how he was comparing the two things. And it just, I mean, despite the fact that this book was written in like 2000 or published in 2000 or whatever, it still seemed very relevant to today.
Mm-hmm.
And, the internet and social media and how we have this thing available to us that can connect us in a way that we weren't able to connect before. And yet we have, the high depression rates and suicide rates and all this other stuff. And so I thought that quote was really interesting, but I think there's a danger in just blindly believing something without ever stopping to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of feels like it's just, I don't know. Religion is not in a place right now where I feel I want it closely in my life. It feels like.
I just think there's a very big difference between religion and spirituality.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because I would definitely say I'm spiritual, but I don't think I'm religious. Like just the rules. And it's not the rules that bother me. It's these are the rules and then how many people break them and they're still like, these are the rules. Like, that's just really hypocritical to me. So like, maybe if we as humans can't follow those rules, maybe they shouldn't be the rules. I don't know.
It's put in place. I don't know. I have beliefs about it that are just very controversial, I guess. That it was there are very good reasons for religion, and then some people are using it for the wrong reasons.
So Camerlengo is like one of the most complex characters in the book. What was your opinion of him in the beginning versus your opinion of him towards the end?
Who are you asking?
Okay. Me? You asking me?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the book, it's specifically painted in a specific way, so you don't believe that the Camerlengo is involved in things the way he is. So at the beginning, he's painted as a oh, he's young. He hasn't been in the church as long as some. He's inexperienced. But he has this control, but we don't think he deserves it. That type of thing. So he's kind of like you're kind of given this naive or I guess inexperienced was the best term I could use, that some of the people of the church don't really trust him enough with the power that he's got at the moment. And then he turns out to be this crazy mastermind that he knows what he's doing. He knows very much of what he's doing.
What are your thoughts, Tom?
Well, I like the camera lingo right through his speech. And then shortly thereafter, and if he continued on that trajectory, I would have given this at least a 4, if not a 5. But it turns out he's just another religious zealot.
Yeah.
Damn it. Damn it, Dan.
Damn it, Daniel.
And so I lost a lot of interest. Although it did remind me of another book that we've read a lot. Spoilers if you haven't, although it is its 34th anniversary, I think today, of Watchmen.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I would not have. Nope.
Yeah, where somebody says, oh, or for in a much more current example, Thanos with the Marvel Universe. I think I'm doing something right here, and I'm going to do anything I can to achieve the ends. The ends justify the means.
Right.
And the idea of that is just so troublesome that, even with politics now, and that kind of seems to be the case.
Yep. That
they're willing to lie, cheat, and be totally corrupt. Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
And what's funny is that when I started reading this again, I took a moment and I stopped and I looked at John and I was like, I don't remember who the villain was at the end of this. And then I was like, God, I hope it's not the Camerlengo. Because I remember liking the Camerlengo the whole way. And I was like, I kept wishing it was something else. It wasn't the Camerlengo.
But again, you were actually given certain information so that you would like him. And then at the end you're like, why? But I forgot the point I was going to earlier, but okay, never mind.
There was I think a lot more detail. Yeah, it was different. His relationship with the Pope was different in the book than it was in the movie. And
his name was completely different.
That's true. I don't know why.
They made him Irish.
Yes.
Well, they did.
I know.
Carlo Ventresca to what? Patrick
O'Brien or something.
Yeah, something like that. But I think in the movie he was adopted by the Pope, but in the book, I thought the explanation was pretty interesting, that a priest and a nun fell in love.
Oh yeah.
And they wanted to have a baby really bad, but they didn't want to break their vows, so they did it through science.
Yeah.
And
holy crap.
Yeah, we're not. Ron Howard says no, we're not including that in this thing.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
I mean, I was both like, wow, but also I kind of loved that. I loved the idea that they were able to retain their faith and their vows and their religion and still experience the miracle of science. Mm-hmm. And that I thought
there's controversy in even that phrase right there. The miracle of science. Blasphemy.
Yeah, but how cool would it be if the film title would be Richie Cunningham and the Immaculate Conception?
Oh my God.
That's like, what do they call that when they make the documentaries about how they made the film? That's what I totally would call it, Richie Man.
But in the book, he didn't know that was his father. Wait, did he ever learn that was his father?
At the end, yeah.
At the very end. And then after he realized that because he killed your own father, you dolt. It was like, oh.
I don't... So. That's just... that kind of manipulation is just really scary.
But in the book, I think it was important because it shows that, through science, we can achieve something which was formerly a miracle.
Right.
The Immaculate Conception, supposedly, because it was conceived without intercourse.
And yet they still look down on it hardcore.
Yeah. For that reason.
Yeah.
Because it's not divine.
You just explained this thing that we've been... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, have you heard of the Illuminati before reading Angels and Demons? I'm sure yes.
I mean, what's our cat's name?
What?
What's our cat's name?
Why are you telling the world our cat's name?
I didn't. I just said, what's our cat's name?
My cat's name is Lumi. And I didn't know at the time because I had made like a Facebook contest to name her. And my brother said Lumi. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool name. And then it was so cool that I couldn't believe he came up with it. So I called him up and I was like, where did you get that from? And he was like, oh, it's short for Illuminati. So I was like, oh my God.
He was a big conspiracy theorist guy.
Yeah.
Like he read into all those crazy things on YouTube's.
Yeah. He was reading on YouTube.
I mean, he read into it hardcore. I mean, I'm pretty sure he read a lot of things outside of YouTube, but I don't know how many times he shared videos with me. He goes, you believe this crap?
Yeah. But I think what feels weird to me, because I had my brother constantly telling me about the Illuminati. He was very focused about the Illuminati in the music industry and how they influence artists and how they control artists, and that how a lot of times if artists don't do what the record companies are saying, they get discredited, they get addicted to things. And so he was a believer of that. And so he shared a lot of stuff with me. But it's hard for me to kind of merge those ideas of the Illuminati. I don't understand how the Illuminati in this book that was very much focused about science and truth would end up manipulating the music industry that way. So it feels like two different Illuminatis to me. Have you read about them in anything else, Tom?
I don't think so.
And I know that I've wanted to understand more about the Illuminati and the Masons, like how that whole thing, what that connection is.
Yo, tell me how after we finished watching the movie, like the next day, on Facebook, I got a sponsored ad for a Masonic lodge.
There you go.
Big Brother's watching.
But you have to remember in the time when this was constructed, with Galileo and such, and Copernicus for that matter, the church says, well, why, when you ask the question, why is this so? The answer is inevitably, well, essentially because we told you so.
Right.
And in the sense, the philosophy was, well, God creates perfection, and mankind is a summit of his perfection, so therefore he's at the center of the universe, and everything revolves around that. And so, well, how does it revolve? It's like, well, a circle is perfect, so they must all revolve in circular orbits. But when you go to do the math, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That's because they actually spoke about how he tried to approach them about everything being elliptical and how perfect.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no.
Mm-hmm. And like they said in the movie, they persecuted Galileo for the fact. And it was only fairly recently that they apologized for his being right.
Not to keep going back to the movie, but when they were in the room looking through Galileo's
portfolio,
yeah, they were. It was in the movie, and me and my son were carefully watching, and we were watching them with the tongs, like flip the pages with the gloves. And then, in a moment's notice, Vittoria rips the page out of the thing.
Both of them audibly gasped. Like it was. It was perfect. But she did that, ran out the door, and they were both. It was great.
Oh my gosh. And then I was sad to read that, you know, as he descended from the helicopter, he still had the page, and it washed away, or it washed.
It disintegrated.
Or whatever. Because he had the page in his jacket.
Oh, that was one thing I thought they did better in the movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, no, I have to go on this helicopter too. It's like, well, no, you don't. You know? But it was kind of great, you know, where the camera angle says, well, you know, you weren't meant to be here. And then he just jumps out of the plane with the parachute. It's like, all right, there you go. See ya.
What about the difference between the scene in the archive, like when he broke the glass or whatever and did all that, like whenever he ran out of oxygen, like they played it out in the book, and everything was like to the T, except for the fact that who was with him when it happened and what, like how it changed the timeline a slight bit. What was I getting to here? Hang on. There was something that the reason they changed that, and then it had to change something else later to make up for it.
Yeah, that I don't recall.
Because she was in there with him in the book, right?
In the book. Mm-hmm.
Like Vittoria was in there with him in the book, and then in the movie it was just the other.
The other guard or whatever.
That's the word I was looking for. The guard.
That's I don't know if that would have been a sucky way to die, I think.
Well, what was messed up about the whole thing is that as soon as he did what he did, the lights came back on and the air started pumping again.
Right.
Like, I don't know if they would have died if that 3 seconds after he broke the glass would have been enough to kill them. I don't know.
But
oh, the guy it was smoking.
Right.
Yeah.
And he freaking lit up a cigarette right afterwards.
Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, you almost died by suffocating, so let me smoke a cigarette. Makes sense.
I mean, he feels better now.
So the novel takes place in a 24-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the narrative structure heightened the suspense in the story?
Well, it had to, because everything was compressed. In other words, they didn't have time to, lollygag about and say, oh, let's go look around the room, or whatever. Just, hey, next one. The chapter's only like, 4 or 5 pages at the most, for the most part.
Well, the majority of the book took place in like a 5-hour time span.
Yeah.
But that being said, it was still about 500. Well, at least my book was 500 pages. But I know there was I think it was halfway through the book, and I was like, how is there 7 hours left? Like, how is there how is there still so much left? Like, they had already killed 3 of the.
Well, you could put a lot of detail. You can put a lot of detail into painting specific scenes.
Yeah, they saved one of the cardinals in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Last one, Kaja. Yeah.
What red herrings does the author use to keep the reader guessing?
I don't remember actually singling any of those out.
Well, you had to figure somebody had to have infiltrated somewhere from the Illuminati. Because, they built these up in the book. Oh, that's what they do. They infiltrate things. So it's like, well,
right.
Who's the infiltrator? Who's the infiltrator? So. And I think what?
Oh, okay. So the first one I actually thought about earlier was when they painted Kohler as the bad guy that came in and branded the Camerlengo.
Right.
I was like, no, not Kohler.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And then later on, I was like, oh, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
So there's one. That's one I remember.
Yeah.
Does the one where they were heading to Santi's tomb?
And the fact that it was moved in 20 years earlier or some crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that was on them for not recognizing or guessing the clue wrong.
Right.
So.
Which made him 3 minutes late.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2 chapters.
I know that while we were reading, I was like, what is it with this Mickey Mouse watch? Why do they keep bringing up this Mickey Mouse watch?
Product placement.
I was like, and then it saved his life. I was like, oh, that's why. That's why we're still talking about the Mickey Mouse watch.
Yet it was still a thing in the movie, but that specific scene didn't happen.
I thought it did.
That the watch didn't.
I thought it did.
Was the watch that saved them?
Yeah.
Oh, the transition was
different in the fire chapel.
Yeah, he didn't get trapped under a thing.
Yeah.
It was something else. Okay.
Yeah, he used the watch's alarm to alert the firemen in the chapel. That's how he got out.
So, did you anticipate any of the events in the story? I think this is hard for me to answer because I've already read it, but I think the first time around, I was really expecting that they were going to save the Cardinals. I didn't expect any of the Cardinals to die. I don't know why, but I just didn't.
That helps.
I don't know. I didn't want to believe it. Was there anything?
Yeah, the fact that they actually had to watch the guy, the fire one, die was ridiculous. They couldn't save him in time because he was strung up and they couldn't get to how to let him down. But they did that nicely in the movie where they actually did drop him, but they dropped him into the fire.
Yeah, they showed that when the chain was running through, there seemed to be a little thing on the end that would keep it from going all the way through.
Right.
And that's
what I thought was interesting that they changed in the movie was the last Illuminati brand.
Yes.
And yeah, and I was wondering why they changed it, but I guess because the other one was a square, if you had done it upside down, it probably would have looked the same. I think.
Oh no, it was supposed to be that no matter which way you turn it, it would still say the same thing.
Right. So that kind of forced them, because so much of that hinged on the dude turning around the brand, I guess.
I don't know. That was used as a plot device. That wasn't specific. I don't think that could have been done the same way.
Does he brand himself with it in the book?
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's something different, and it doesn't lead to a different. They use the keys as one thing, and then apparently when you turn it upside down, it means something different. But they use that specifically as a plot device in the movie, which doesn't exist in the book.
Right. In the book, they talk about the Illuminati Diamond, and you're led to believe that it's an actual diamond, but then it turns out it's that brand that they were talking about.
Not a square.
Yes, a diamond.
It's a rhombus.
The Illuminati trapezoid.
Well, no.
Why not?
Given what Dan Brown reveals about the history of the Illuminati. Is their alleged vendetta against the Vatican justified? Justified is a strong word. Understandable?
I was going to say understandable is probably a better word for that. Because if they're such learned men of science, why would they do what the church is doing to them? It just brings them down to the
it's just dropping down to the level.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think that they have the same, because the church has always done that, and they probably don't do it very much anymore, but they've always shut people up when they were working against them. But like, it's not like the church is actively moving against the Illuminati at all times.
This just, I don't know, I feel like it makes me want to research the Illuminati.
Don't do it.
So you start seeing pyramids all around your house now. I don't know why.
It's not just pyramids. There'll be certain things.
Ellipses and whatnot.
Because no, the idea of enlightenment, of truth, of science, of like all that is fascinating and interesting, and like I put value in that. But the conspiracy theories about them evilly ruling the entertainment industry, not so much. I don't know. Like, that's scarier.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
But like ancient Illuminati, I guess, sounds cooler. I don't know.
I want to know about their past, not what they're doing right now.
Right. What's their origin story?
Yeah. Right. But so, I mean, do we believe that they still exist?
I'm not. What is it? I plead the fifth? Or as long as I don't say anything, I can't incriminate myself?
I mean, they could just under a different name, or it's or it could be like effectively the same, not necessarily necessarily, but along the same lines. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was something like that.
The idea, though, that he was like, people need something to fear.
Oh.
And the Camerlengo went digging through the Vatican library and took all the brands to do this whole thing. Right. Like, what if the canister had blown up? Like, he would have been blasted to smithereens too.
It was all part of the master plan.
That's some dedication.
No, he's on. If he became a martyr, so be it. Which he did anyway.
Right.
So
now, how they played it out from what they said to the media and whatnot after the fact was very interesting too. Like, it was all still half covered up. Like, everything that happened was still, nobody's gonna say anything about this. We're just gonna sweep it under the rug and move on.
And that's why I connected it to Watchmen.
Right.
Spoilers for Watchmen. If you recall, Rorschach is the only one who says, "Hey, we need to tell people." And he leaves his diary.
So, what are your thoughts on like Robert and Victoria not telling the world what happened?
If I was in Robert's shoes and I knew everything that I knew, I think I would be suspect number one if I decided to start telling people what happened.
Okay, so you would be worried about...
That would be that fear aspect, that someone needs something to fear in order to have control over them.
Right. And what would the gain be other than, to start all these fights, The
truth.
Yeah.
Starts sounding like an X-Files freaking addict. The truth is out there.
I mean, there's a part of me that feels like people should have known the truth. But then also, like, it was kind of almost one man acting alone. So, to throw the entire Vatican under the bus for the actions of the Camerlengo.
Yeah, no, they can't have that scar on their. No.
I don't know.
But it produced the effect that he wanted. People were, everybody was out in St. Peter's Square singing and, paying attention to the church again. So he got what he wanted.
But at what cost?
But at what cost, right?
I have never been to Rome.
Me neither.
Okay, so we'll skip that question. Have you been to Rome?
I have never been out of this country. Unfortunately. Maybe we can fix that soon. Actually, I don't know. I don't want to go anywhere and be like, American scum. Everybody hates us right now.
That list of places is getting longer and longer and longer.
Oh my God.
Just so you know.
Yeah. I wanted to go to Scotland.
One of the things I particularly enjoyed about the film, which the book went another direction, was the relationship between Robert and Vittoria. Because in the book, they're at the end they get together. Yoga master.
Of course they do.
Yeah, of course they do. But I preferred it much better in the movie that they really didn't. I don't know. So to me, the way Robert Langdon was almost like wish fulfillment, in the sense that he's Harvard.
No, I mean, there was at one point I pulled up a picture of Dan Brown and I was like, look at what he's wearing. I was like, doesn't he look like he's dressed the way Robert Langdon is described?
Yeah. I know. I'm gonna make him at Harvard. Put him in Harvard. I'm gonna make him a world-renowned symbologist. I'm gonna give him rock hard abs. And I'm giving him a hot young girlfriend. I was like, all right, plus religion. Thing. But when I was watching the film, I was like, God, the actress. I know I've seen her somewhere before. Who played Vittoria? So I had to look up and say, oh yeah, she was in Daredevil.
Oh wow.
So.
Did you happen to see the Dan Brown interview I posted on the Goodreads group?
Not yet.
Okay. I really enjoyed that because I didn't know much about Dan Brown before that, but apparently, I think his parents were religious and they were also teachers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of learn about what religion meant to him and how it impacted him and how, why he writes these stories. And
right.
I think in his latest book, which is Origin, again, it still has religious themes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the church was upset about it, as they were with every other book he published. But it was a good interview.
Mm-hmm. But they do make the good point in the book, just because we can do something doesn't mean we ought to. That's the church comes in.
That's an old Dr. Malcolm quote right there.
Yeah. In the sense that, for example, abortion. We can do it, but the church, for reasons, says, no, you shouldn't. So.
What did you find most compelling in the story? Was it the action scenes, the characters, the setting, the history, or something else?
I mean, the action really wasn't. I guess it was necessary in certain parts, but I don't think it was.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely wasn't the compelling part, at all. There was some of the action sequences just weren't necessary.
Right.
And especially they actually caused plot holes because of the Hashashin.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, it's like the history of the whole thing. I want to know more about the actual story and what happened where and how they came up with all these ideas. But what about you? Or Tom?
Yeah, I was saying about Hashashin in the sense that they changed the identity or the makeup of the Hashashin in the film. Because in the book, he's portrayed as, I'm guessing, an Arab.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember reading one of the questions on Goodreads was about, is it anti-Arab? And it's like, well, how do you actually answer that? Because if you ask that question, it's like, well, are there people like that in the world? And if the answer is yes, then I don't know. And so it was a tough call. I wish I could remember the way the question was worded, though. I mean, was he kind of stereotypical? Yes, but
if the movie was made today,
right.
I think they would have actually made it a little bit more accurate because, like back then, they were still whitewashing things.
Yeah.
So.
I like Robert Langdon as a character. I love his fascination for things. And I kind of like that in the book, there was, that underlying idea, like from the beginning, was that he had been trying to get into the Vatican library or whatever, and he kept getting rejected over and over again. So the fact that, they needed him and he was able to kind of fulfill something that he'd been trying to do. And at the end, they gave him the thing and they were like, just make sure it finds its way back home or whatever.
Right.
You're not confusing the book and the movie again, are you? Because in the book, they actually gave him the brand, not what he was looking for. They gave him
something different, in the book than they did.
So that upset me. That was probably the only thing they did better in the movie. Was that they gave him like the actual document that he was trying to get, more information from, versus
the brand.
Yeah, like the fuck's he gonna use the brand for?
But I think in the book, was he not able to finish his book on the Illuminati?
I mean, from the stuff that he learned, probably, but
I thought it was more relevant in the book, but whatever. But I like that was even like a thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. They kind of helped him get more information out of what he was after.
But the history of everything was pretty cool. I've taken art history several times in my lifetime, and I don't think I ever appreciated it as much as I'd probably appreciate it now. But it still kind of laid a foundation. And so I just loved hearing about the sculptures and stuff. Though I know that in the movie, they were calling, I don't know if it was a fake one, if they were showing the real one, but they were calling that angel that was in the ground, the plate, a bas-relief.
Yes.
And it seemed pretty flat. Like it didn't seem like a bas-relief to me. It seemed like just something that was printed on. But I don't know. I still really enjoyed the history aspect of the whole thing. I think I like books that are really well researched, like Outlander. It just...
Although sometimes, every so often you get, well, I do at least. And it's like, oh yes, well, they'll have it's not that it's much or anything. It's like a paragraph where they explain a particular thing. And it's like, oh, the author's showing off the research here. So.
I don't know if I have anything else.
I do have to start getting ready for work.
You have like 10 more minutes. And then it says if you've read Robert Langdon's second adventure, compare the two books. But I don't even know if I remember the Da Vinci Code enough. I don't know why the Da Vinci Code just irritated me. I think it was just, I don't know if it was the ending, because they're like searching for something throughout the entire book. I think they're searching for the the Holy Grail. I think that's what it was about. And I found the ending to be disappointing.
In the Da Vinci Code, they use different artifacts for basically the same purposes. Like he's finding items and objects that lead him to something else versus using geography and art placed around the Vatican and Rome. It's just, I don't remember much about the ending for the Da Vinci Code either, though.
Well, I guess we can do final thoughts. It's final thoughts and ratings. Tom, you can go first.
Oh, let me see. Like I said, it was entertaining for what it was. I think my chief interest was like finding out, what the Trail of Light was, and how they directed it to various artworks. And as they got to each particular landmark, I would look it up online and that's what it is. And sure enough, there's the pointer and whatnot. And so I think that was the best part of the book for me. Like I said, if he had continued the Camerlengo consistent with the speech he made in about the last third of the book, I would have given it at least 4 stars, because that would have made him really much more complex character than he turned out to be. So he's like, yeah, that's what I thought, that was a missed opportunity. And like I said, the romance trope between Vittoria and Robert, to me, was totally unnecessary. So I was like, oh, come on, really? But so I think I get limited. I give it here a 3, 2.5 rounded up to 3.
Ooh.
What about you, John?
I'll stick to my 4. I had 4 stars. I there are certain things that I just enjoyed, like the Path of Elimination as well as I was intrigued by how we get to the end result versus getting to the end result. Like I don't care about the end result. I really didn't care about what had happened, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But the journey was definitely worth. It's what is that old? It's not the end result. It's the path getting there is the good part for me. So, I am impressed with how much research would have to go into writing a book like this. So that's the part that I like most about it. Is like he had to do a lot of work in order to make this outline fit the way it did.
Are you open to reading other books in the series?
I honestly, I really think that me reading the other books would probably water it down. Like I'll probably find problems with the other books that I'm like, well, now it's just because you said he has like a format, an outline. What was the word you used?
Formula.
Formulaic. Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a fan of that. I like things to be different. If you write another book, I don't want to be able to compare it to the first book that much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pop music has a formula,
and I don't like it as much as most people do.
I gave it 5 stars. I feel like it kept me engaged the whole time and interested, and it felt like a page turner. And he also kind of left each chapter off on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so you had to kind of keep reading. Mm-hmm. And but that's for me, smart. For me, meanwhile back at the ranch, for me, the big thing was just that I kept thinking about it long after I had put it down. So the fact that it made me wonder about so many different things and keep researching things and looking up different art. And so I feel like it really impacted me. And so that's why I gave it a 5.
Well, plus in this sense, the book is very visual. In other words, that I think that's where the movie helped a lot, in the sense that you can actually see, the places, and you can see St. Peter's Square and whatnot. And I think that helped. What was I going to say? Plus it also, like when they talk about conclave and such, he does mention the rituals, but it's not quite the same thing as when you actually see, Like when they lock them in and how they, lock the door and bolt it and whatnot.
And smoke and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So that was September's book. Now I am playing catch up, and I will be reading Beloved by Toni Morrison, so that hopefully we can discuss it by the end of this month. This month being October. And so if any of you fast readers out there want to join us for the Beloved discussion, please do.
Yes, and I'll have the other one.
And then for November, we will be reading Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion.
Did you finish that already, Tom?
I started. I haven't finished it.
So that's what's going on with the Libri Labra Book Club. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you. Be sure to leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about Angels and Demons. Outside of that, I'll see you guys at the end of the month.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.